Hello everyone, Seagull here. Today I got the 7.2.5 Blood DK guide. This guide assumes you already have your artifact already kind of filled out decently, and it assumes that you have a basic knowledge of your abilities. Now, Blood DKs are big self-healing tanks. They rely mostly on their self-healing. They're pretty good at it too. They're one of the better tanks right now in Tomb of Sargeras, along with Druids and Brewmasters. Are kind of like the top three at the moment right now. Bone Shield, it's like your big damage mitigation, and you heal through Death Strike. Pretty simple. Not much has changed with Blood TKs in 7.2.5. Their two talents, Soul Gorge, was removed and placed by Ice Heart. And many of the abilities have been buffed. They also received these two new legendaries. So we'll look at the legendaries here in a bit. But first, let's go ahead and look at stats. Stats. Now, there's two ways you can really build your Blood DK. Three. We could go three, but there's really two. There's your survivability build and your DPS oriented build for stats. Survivability is your first big stat. Of course, it's always strength, but you always find strength on everything. Then haste, versatility, which just increases damage and healing done and decreases the amount of damage you take. Then you have mastery, which gives you each time you're healed with your death strike, you gain 29% of the base amount healed as a physical damage absorbed. Pretty simple. And then critical strikes at last. Critical strike is the more DPS oriented build. Then you have your DPS-oriented build, which is still haste on top, critical strike first, then mastery did last. And you can also have a more balanced build, which is haste first, crit, then mastery. I've been going for you want to big note on all of these for all three builds either way. Haste you need to keep around 30% all the time, mainly because if you're below 30% haste, the class just feels clunky. It's not fun. But if you're at 30% or above, better. The more haste, the better. So what I usually go for haste. I got a lot of mastery. I'm kind of trying to get that down a little bit. I'm going more haste crit first. Although I think in the end my versatility will be around 7 or 8%. Crit will be a little bit higher. Mastery be lower, and the more haste I get, the better. So, speaking of stats, let's go ahead and look at some trinkets. Actually, if you really want to get die hard, there's not really that many trinkets. So, if you're progressing through a guild on bosses, one of your best trinkets will be the Dark Moon deck Immortality, which is just base strength, and it increases your armor by a certain amount each time when it flips through the deck. That's your best trinket for progressing. That's probably almost everything's best trinket, to be honest. If you have the gold, go ahead and get that. If not, the trinket that drops off. Oh, here we go. Come on. Trinket that drops off Goroth, the Feverious Carapace, is decent. It's not as good as Dark Moon. You can also go for Leviathan's Hunger. It gives you a bunch of haste, which is nice. And the use on equipped, you deal damage to an enemy, and then you're healed for 300% of that damage for, I think it's 8 seconds, right? Yeah. And then pretty much when you use this, you don't need healed for 8 seconds, which is pretty nice because it heals for a crap ton. The other trinkets in TOS suck. So for your first trinket slot, one of those three. And then for your second, you're always going to want a stat stick, which with haste. So I got this out of the relinquished stuff, strength haste one. I keep trying every time I get 5,000 to try and get either proc one or something like that. Just strength haste stat stick. You need to go find one. That's going to be your best trinket, even if it's 880. I would say even if it's like 870, it's still going to be one of your best ones. That's about it. Let's go ahead and look at your Legendaries here. Okay, so your best legendaries. First are the shoulders. Where are the shoulders? Here we go. Skullflower's Hematosis, which Blood Boil increases the damage and healing done by your next Death Strike by 20%. If you get this, these shoulders, you're gonna be out healing everyone, which is nice. Oh, if you know how to use it, so you stack the, you get the stacks and of the from the Blood Boil. Blood Boil is only on like a, if your haste is high, like a 5-second cooldown, 5.3-second cooldown. So that's a very nice Lego for progression. The next ones are the wrists, which Death Strike refunds 15% of runic power spent if heals you for more than 10% of your maximum health. Now, Death Strike will almost always heal for more than 10% of your maximum health. So that's why these are really, really nice, and it refunds you a bunch of your runic power back. Pretty simple, straightforward there. There's really nothing else to explain there. Your third best is Service of Gorfine. I have this one, and it just Hard Strike reduces the remaining cooldown on Vamp Blood by 2 seconds. Pretty simple. Again, nothing fancy. And then it simply goes down from there. I won't go more into detail, but 4 will be Soul of the Death Lord. 5 is Pride S. 6 is, I believe, the Chest. 7 is the Cephuse. 8 is the Trinket. I think the next one is this one, and it just goes down from there. But you want to try to get shoulders, wrists, waist. Those are your best. Neck is okay for survivability. And Soul of the Death Lord just gives you your Fall Bulwark for free, so you can spec it to Blood Tap. Pretty simple. Let's go ahead and look into the talents. Now, a couple ways you could do this. For raiding, you would mostly go Blood Drinker. Either Rapid Decomposition or Spectral Deflection. Rapid for more DPS gain. Spectral if a boss is doing a bunch of damage to you. So Demonic Inquisition can do a bunch of damage. Kill Jaden definitely does a bunch of damage to you, and so on. Ossuary is the one you're going to go for. You're never going to go Blood Tap or Anti-Magic Barrier. Red Thirst, Tightening Grasp. Foul Bulwark for most of the time, unless a boss is, again, hitting you for a lot and you can go Rune Tap, but I would try to stay away from Rune Tap as much as possible. And Blood Mirror. You could go Purgatory, but that's, if you go Purgatory, that means you have no faith in your own tanking, and you need to rethink it. That's it for rating. Mythic Plus is pretty much the same, except Blood Mirror, you'd go Bone Storm. And that's about it. One more for rating, you can also go Heartbreaker. That just gains 2 additional runic power, but most of the time you're going to go Blood Drinker. That's about it. Pretty simple, straightforward. Not much else there is to that. Now the rotation. Now, for a tank, for a Blood DK tank, I should say, it's pretty simple, so I'll go slow for you guys. First, you want to get your Bone Shield charges up to around above 6. You always want to keep it above 6. That's just baseline of what you're going to want to do for a Blood DK. Always keep it above 6 because it mitigates your damage. Or you take less damage. And it also increases your haste. Blood Boil to give Blood Plague is another one. Let's click back there. Okay, so it's Morrowind, Blood Plague. Use Deathly Decay if you get the proc on a single enemy. So I have the proc right now. That's simple enough. Or you can also use it without the proc if you have more than like 2 or 3 enemies. You want to use your Hard Strike to build up runic power. Oh, and make sure you're keeping Morrowind up. Blood Plaguing as well. And then when you're capped out at runic power, or try not to cap out, you use your Death Strike. Pretty simple. You can also use Weave in Consumption throughout the fight. There's really no point of keeping it on saving it. It doesn't do that much healing, so you're gonna want to go ahead and just use it. See, I'm also keeping that up. And then for your cooldowns and abilities, I can't say when to use them because it varies from fight to fight. Dancing Rune Weapon, you're gonna want to use more like a DPS cooldown. I usually use it as a DPS cooldown. I don't really use it as a defensive cooldown. Vamp Blood, since I have the belt, I can use a lot in a fight. I think it goes down to like a minute something cooldown, not even that, I believe, yeah. And you also have Icebound Fortitude, which is your big one, and Anti-Magic Shield, which is a big one for mitigating that magic damage. Also, Blood Mirror, again, another defensive cooldown. Blood Decays have a bunch of defensive cooldowns that you use, and the best way to find out when to use them is to go look for a guide, which will tell you, hey tank, use your defensive cooldown at this point of time. It's pretty simple. So let's go ahead again and look at the rotation. Explain it one more time. Get me out of combat. Get those out. Come on. There we go. Okay. Here we go. One more time. So again, keep Morrowind, keep your bone shields up to above 6. I like to keep it higher than that. Blood Boil. Use Consumption because you don't really use it as anything else. And then Heart Strike, and then use Death Strike to avoid capping your runic power. You can also save your runic power if you know a boss is about to hit you really hard. That's another good way to do it. And then Blood Drinker is another one that it gives you health back, I believe. So it's simple enough right there. And then boom. Again, the rotation isn't really hard. It's just all tanking is all about knowing when to use your cooldowns and when not to. Blood Decays are, like I said at the start, really good self-healers, so they got, I think they're one of the easier tanks to play right now. Them and Bears are easy to play. I love my DK though. My DK and Paladin I like, but Paladins suck right now. But that's about it. Again, it's a shorter guide, just a simple one to get you started. If you guys would like a longer one, please let me know. Please like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you have any questions about Blood DK that I forgot to answer anything, just comment below and I will get back to you. But thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. And my next guide will be Prot Paladin, so stay tuned for that one. See you guys next time.